So this evening we're going to talk about BTS and their new album, Persona or Map of the Soul Persona, which is based on yes, and you're the first one, BTS Army. Thank you for joining us. Um, so we're talking about the new album, and I have three of my regulars from around the U.S. who mainly live near Annapolis, Maryland. Uh, but this is the 122nd meeting of this group. And so we've been talking about it and putting it online for quite a while. But tonight we're going to talk about BTS and Connect at this moment. Now that's really bizarre. Pardon? I have another phone because I just got my new iPhone today. I got an iPhone 10X, 10 Max XSS XX, 256 gigabyte. So it's going to be a big deal phone, I hope. And we've already been knocked offline once, but we will be here for 2 hours, and so or till near 10 o'clock, and so if we get knocked offline, it just means that I'll try again. And thank you, Penelope. I appreciate that. And I was hoping that what I was going to get was the live feed on my old iPhone, and let us see if that happens. And I'm trying very hard to bring up my old iPhone and see if I can get the chat on it, because usually it's very difficult for me to see the chats. But I have wine, so I'm not not too stressed out about it. We have 10 people online as of now, and yep. And so tap to retry. Oh, gosh. Nothing is easy. Okay. I am getting the chat now. Here it is. And to do my best to respond to your chats this evening, which is not usual. And I hope everyone can hear me all right. And I'm going to put my other glasses on so that I'm not blinded. This is a factor of age. So if we do fall offline during the next hour and a half, hour and 50 minutes anyway, just hang in there and I'll try to bring it back up. And so this evening in the local Sammy's Pizza Kitchen, I have Bill and Brendan and Des, and many of them have been coming since the beginning, and I'm going to introduce them to the BTS Army. So have any of you heard of BTS before my email? Okay, so Brendan says no, Des says no, and Bill says no. Okay. Is that correct, Bill? Your kids are not into it, not into K-pop yet?
No, my kids are into the airplane, the Doors, and
Into what?
Old school, the Doors.
The Doors and the airplane. Jefferson Airplane. Oh my gosh. They're
no
really
influenced by me. They just picked it up on their own.
Nothing else is allowed in the house, apparently.
okay.
No, they listen to other stuff.
Okay. So after tonight, maybe you're going to have to guide them along, because on Friday this album launches. The next album. Okay, now BTS is a very, very impressive bunch of young men. Did you happen to see the UN speech that Kim Nam-jung gave? fantastic. Did you? It's pretty impressive. And, huh? Well, it's heavily produced, but I mean, in order to have all those visuals in the music videos, you really have to be heavily produced. And yeah, they're good. So they're good. Thank you, Army, for joining us. Whoever said that about the BTS Army said Dionysus is a song among their track list. Yes, and I have printed out tonight. I have printed out the words to the first song, which is Persona, and Bill and I have been impressed because a man of our generation, Bob Dylan, won the Nobel Prize for Literature a couple of years ago. And so Kim Nam-jun may be on his way. Did you see the UN speech, though? Yeah, I gave you all the links the other day. Yeah. And so they're already well on their way. And they did a album, I think last year, on Damien, which is Hermann Hesse's novel, which obviously you've read, Bill, right? And how about you, Des? You remember that? What is your recollection of Damien, Bill? So that I'm sorry I'm interrupting his dinner.
Wow. Well, it's very Jungian, I'll say that. Gosh, I hadn't thought about it in a while. Damien and his mother and the narrator. And I don't know what to say about it except that it was like a coming of age novel in a way because Damien was sort of this shadow figure that basically sort of disappeared at the end because it's like all Hesse stuff. It's very heavily metaphorical.
Yes.
It's not concrete.
Right. Well, I brought along the commentary that Sonia Shamdasani did on Damien. I did a live stream of this morning. I'm not sure it's online yet because I may have to do some video editing. Oh, I know, I do have to do video editing because I was having trouble getting online with my computer today, but I've now ordered 32 gigabytes of RAM for my iMac, and that should be here tomorrow. And so that should help me to keep up with the demand from 8 gigabytes. I actually don't know how I've kept my computer together all these years. Because I keep thinking, oh, it's so slow, but then...
Again.
But I never think about, oh, maybe I should put more RAM in it. Go figure. But I am going to put more RAM in the computer tomorrow, I hope. And in the meantime, if I can't broadcast on the computer, I'm going to broadcast on one of the 2 iPhones. And magically now I can see your tweets, so that's good because when they come up on this screen, they just go by too quickly. And so we currently have 26 people that are listening to this online. And so that's terrific.
And one of them is my friend in San Diego.
Oh, great.
He just called to say that he's listening.
He is on. Okay, terrific. And we have one person saying that the Damien album was in 2016, and another person has said that the track list for the whole album for this Friday, that's going to drop this Friday, has released today, and it's very interesting, and I agree with that, but I didn't have time to do anything with it before I came to this live stream, so I'm just doing my best as a one-man band. And good evening, Sean. And Sean, I hope that you can help me by giving me a printout or a copy of this live stream at the end of this evening, since that's one thing I'm unable to do when I'm live streaming from Sammy's. But otherwise, I do have the chat now, and so thanks to investing in a new iPhone. And
Do they have a copy of the lyrics? The people.
I presume that people that are watching. I presume, thanks, Sean. I presume that people that are watching do have a copy of the lyrics now, and if not, you can find a response by. Pardon?
Remember the boy's name? Sinclair.
Yeah, Sinclair, right.
Emil Sinclair.
Emil Sinclair, right. Jerome Waddle, Waddle, put a response on one of my live streams earlier in the week that has all of the lyrics. So if you want to look at that, you could go look at that. Good evening, Matt. Thank you for being here. We haven't really gotten rolling yet, and it's just terrific to see. Now we have 31 people aboard, so this is actually the best attended meeting of our Monday night group that we've had. And we used to do it every week here, but we've cut that back so that I can do it at home, where I'm able to use graphics and that sort of thing more.
Are we going to analyze these lyrics?
Yes,
Can I say what I love? Or are you?
sure. Okay, so we're going to analyze the lyrics of Persona, and Brendan has been looking at them for the last 30 minutes, and he can't wait to do it. So I'm going to turn it over to Brendan. Okay, go for it, Brendan.
Well, I love it from the get-go. I love the idea, and I've heard this before, that if we were able to say who we are as people in just a few sentences, then what can we say about the various beauties? I mean, whether you believe God created us or not, the point is there's such a complexity and a diversity in who the human and world and animal species is. How can you reduce it to just a few words, as they say? But what I love about the beginning of his self-analysis that he talks about, I'm not sure if I'm a dog or a pig. I love the reference to Chinese characters of the year, or if they are Chinese, this is the year of the rat, this is the year of the dog, the pig. I'm not sure if I'm a dog or a pig or whatever else. But I love it. I'm beautiful anyway. Somebody came out and put a pearl necklace on me. And I love the fact that he says he's laughing more than he used to. And I think that's
Did you see the imagery for the pearl necklace?
No.
Okay, well, from my email, you must click through, I think it's to the fifth link I sent you. And that has a simplified description of Jungian psychology by Danny Kim of DKDKTV. Terrific job, Danny. If you see this video, I'm really impressed. And so Danny put the sort of the picture of Jungian psychology in a mandala, and describing conscious and unconscious. And then he went through the first song that we have a TV or MV for, music video for, and talked about it in the context of Jungian psychology. And he's pretty much right on. Okay? I'm extremely impressed by what he said. And I don't think I could have done that better. I know I couldn't have done it with more energy than Danny did. And so if you haven't seen Danny's description of that, you should go take a look. And I'll put the link in the description of this video this evening. But in any case, he did a great job. But in that video, he shows this pig that the pearls are being put on, And what RM is saying, Kim Nam Jung is saying, because he's the songwriter here apparently, is that he doesn't feel very special, but people keep putting pearls over his neck. He feels like a pig.
But there's also a reference to the famous saying, can you make a silk purse out of a sow's ear?
Right.
There's something of that in there too.
Right. And interestingly, though, the pearls on the pig is a reference to Korean culture too. There's an actual idiom in Korea that refers to pearls on a pig. So anyway, so go ahead, Jerome. Welcome. Thank you. Go ahead. You want to continue?
No, well, I was just saying it's interesting. All these put downs. Someone like me ain't good enough for music. You basically on the third verse down, fourth verse down. There are 4 or 5 put downs.
Right.
And I think a lot of us are haunted by put downs that we heard as children.
So let me explain that, because the BTS Army has been communicating with me regularly over the last week as I've started to get into this, and they've explained to me what has been going on. So first of all, you have Korean culture generally. Korean culture is generally pretty conservative. And just like our parents, but even more so, right? I happen to have 2 or 3 Korean American grandchildren, by the way, just for information's sake. I haven't talked to them about this yet, but I'm going to. So anyway, so K-pop emerged out of Korean culture as an industry to do a lot of things, to do fashion and music and videos and a bunch of things. And these 7 young men, as I understand it, and you all can correct me if I'm wrong here, but these young men basically raised themselves from age 13 to 15 or so. Okay, many of them left their families, and they lived together as a group for quite a long time, which in part might explain why they're so mature. Because if you're out on your own, you hit the world of hard knocks pretty quick, right? And so K-pop didn't want to accept them in. And so not only did they sort of get pumped out of Korean culture, but they also got pumped out of the K-pop industry, even though they're connected to it to a certain extent, and now even more so because they've become so popular. And they've now been nominated for 2 Billboard Awards, and the Billboard Music Awards are coming out May 1st. And just a couple of days ago, they were nominated for Best Album, but not for the album that's about to come out, for one last year, and also for the best group that's interested in human rights, and or something like that. I don't remember exactly. And you're right, Sean, it does remind me of Karma too. So Karma's coming around. So anyway, these young guys said, well, screw you, we're going to do it our way. We want to do it our way. And so that's what they've done in several albums. And I really haven't had a chance to get back to all those albums. BTS Army says they ain't K-pop, they're a global group. Fair enough. Okay, they emerged from K-pop, but the BTS Army is very proud of the group now. And so they're saying, well, we're not part of K-pop anymore. We're our own thing. And, it's sort of like Bob Dylan when you think about it. And for the young people that might be watching this, Bob Dylan declined to go to the Nobel Prize ceremony, and all the physicists and doctors and chemists who were getting Nobel Prizes said, phew, because if Bob Dylan had gone to the ceremony, he would have sucked all the air out of the room, and he probably knew that. Okay, so did you want to go on, or do
You know
you?
one thing about Dylan, and we don't know if it's true of these guys yet. Dylan was sort of an instrument of his time. It's like he was not willingly being Dylan. He was thrust out up on the stage, and he looked back at himself. He looked back at his persona and went, "Holy cow, who was that?" And he still asks, "Who wrote those songs?" Because it's just it came through him. He was a vehicle. He wasn't a designer. He was a creator.
Wonderful.
And that's what artists do, is they bring it up from the self and bring it into consciousness and then into the world, and from the God image too. And so let me just remind you, if you haven't seen this diagram, this is a diagram of the psyche. And so Kim Namjoon's and Dylan's music came from here up through the animus up to the ego. And so this is partially what is being talked about. And this diagram it appears in Edward Edinger's book Ion.
You know what?
Yeah.
The only problem with that I would have is that it doesn't come up through the ego necessarily. It may come up and become part of the ego.
Yeah, I
But
mean
it
to
doesn't-
the ego.
yeah, but it doesn't mean that you are conscious exactly of what your ego is doing. So
Oh, definitely.
in other words, you're as much an audience as everyone else is in a way, as a creator.
Yeah.
You may not know what's going on for a while, if ever.
Right, right. Okay, so do you want to carry on?
Well, I love also the fact that there's so many things in depth in this song. So suddenly, he writes in the third verse, "Have you lost your way? Are you dwelling too much on all this stuff, this shit as he calls it?" And I love that he brings our attention again to what is the important matter.
Right.
And no, I haven't read it all, but I love it. Thank you for introducing.
Terrific. Bill or Des, any thoughts here?
Well, I haven't really read it. So
Okay,
we're
I'll
working on
let
it.
you go read it, and meanwhile I will respond to a few chats here, because the chats are getting ahead of me. So let me look back here, and so BTS Army says, "Can I ask you about Dionysus, and think this god has to do with Carl's work?" Dionysus is a song among their track list. And so I think that Bill is probably our best expert to talk about Dionysus. So. Bill, can't you honestly say something about Dionysus? Good evening, Nancy.
You want to tell us about Dionysus?
Who's going to talk about Dionysus?
Wow, this is heavy.
Dionysus.
Dionysus.
He was
Got a wine, huh?
I'm trying to think of the most succinct words, but all I can think of right now is celebration, festivity, abandon. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
But didn't Dionysus get sort of picked apart and went into 1,000 pieces and then spread out into the world or something?
Was he the one? Is that? Oh, is that Horace or see? You got all.
Well, it may have been Horace too, but
Back together. I don't. Yeah.
well, Isis was a bit before Dionysus.
Yeah. But my areas have always, my biggest focus has always been, I've never been drawn to Jung. I've always been drawn another direction, probably just my personality, my persona.
Right.
You know, I was always into the Persephone and all that.
Well, I have to say that I'm not an expert on the Greek gods, and I urge you to go back and look at Jean Shinoda Boland's book, Gods in Every Man. And in there, I think you'll find something about Dionysus. What I know about him is that he was the god of wine, and so he was definitely into celebration and so on.
Wasn't he also part of the initiation rituals where you
And
finally let go, where you
Right.
is that sort of
You finally let go.
transition stage where you become yourself, you know, in the most pure sense?
Right, and that reminds me of the Japanese samurai ritual, where the samurais had to take a huge bowl of sake and drink it down in one go, and if they didn't die, then they were a samurai.
Didn't die.
If they didn't die, I mean, they had, and I actually have a Hakata doll of this at home. So the bowl is about as big as you can hold your hands out, and the samurai has to take it in one arm and just go glug 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 and drink it down, and so this is obviously a neophyte samurai. And then if he doesn't die, he's a samurai.
Frat boy prank to me.
Yeah, it's sort of. Well, it's initiation. It's an initiation prank, and so we're having an initiation here. We currently have 54 people watching online, in addition to our group here. So this is absolutely the best Sammy's group we've had in a while, ever. I did have a few more online the other day when I was at home, but this is remarkable, and thank you for joining us. So in any case, in the Dionysian story, my recollection is that Dionysus gets torn apart ultimately, and he gets planted in various places around the world, and from his parts emerges beauty, if I'm not mistaken. Dionysus. And I forget why he gets torn apart, but it's probably because he was resisting his local culture. And, at least in this story. So, yeah,
I really didn't pay much attention to that.
and so it's certainly possible that Kim Namjoon and the other members are getting pulled in every direction, especially when they have a new album dropping and they're in the U.S. or they're going to be in the U.S. I think they're going to be on Saturday Night Live this weekend, and people want a piece of you. Once you're famous, you have no peace. I mean, right. Right. It truly is overwhelming. And so how do you have then a life? You know, you have to have a life. And so Dionysus can help people, can educate people, can show them beauty and so on. But then, there's a downside. And this is what Kim Namjoon is singing about in this particular song, because he's talking about the fact that everybody wants him out here as this pink genie that's floating around in the room, and he wants to be Kim Namjoon still when he's not on stage, and that's almost impossible, as we know. Any celebrity that just walks around town is going to be mobs, and that's whoever the celebrity is. So it's very tough to be a celebrity. It's also tough to be wealthy. I mean, if you think it's great to be wealthy, think about it. I mean, I used to worked for a guy who I called Bill Gates East, and he was worth $400 million. But his life was hell because every 15 minutes somebody was calling him asking for money. And yeah, I mean, so if you have a lot of money, you're going to get called. So anyway, that's what I can say right now about Dionysus, BTS Army, and I'll try to come back to that in future days. And we talked about the track list. Go ahead. You ready to talk more? Okay, let me catch up a little bit here. Okay, BTS Army says, "Man, I will inform my moots that the legend is live and come back here." And thank you, Sean, for your help. And then Yasmina says, "A lot of theories go now between Map of the Soul and the myth on my head hurts." And Phoebe says, "Hello from Wales." Okay, so we have people on from Wales, from Hong Kong, from Korea, obviously. What would you have to say on the difference between feeding and following desire and just observing it? Well, if you're just observing life, you're not having much of a life. And as Robert Frost said, what did Robert Frost said? Fire and ice. That I don't know. He wondered about if the earth will end in fire or ice, and he says, you know, from what I know of desire, I hope it ends in fire. But from something like what I know about ice will suffice as well to end the world. Okay. And BTS Army says, "It's night to us." Yes, I know that. So I would recommend that everybody get a life. Okay, Dr. Jung was very emphatic that we all have to live this life, not somebody else's life, and not a life in the future, not an after-death life. And so I'm not going to pull any punches on you. So High Key Army is given a super chat. So let me go to that super chat, and then I will come back. High Key Army says, Dionysus is also a god of theater. Persona may come from the Greek word prosopon, the masks actors wear on stage. Well, certainly persona, it does come from Greek actors. No doubt about that. Dr. Jung specifically mentioned that. But that's a very interesting observation, Katie. I appreciate that. That's interesting. And BTS Army says the cult of Dionysus is strongly represented by serpents, and Ty wore a snake bracelet. And High Key Army says, does Carl Jung ever discuss the effect of alcohol on the persona? Yes, he certainly does, because Dr. Carl Jung was the guy who gave the idea for the creation of Alcoholics Anonymous. And he actually didn't know that. He had a patient named Roland H., and Roland H. had a problem with alcohol, and he kept falling off the wagon and going on another bender. And he finally came to Dr. Jung and said, you know, the only way you're going to get out of this is by having a religious experience, because spirits, which is what alcohol is from spiritus, and you have to have a religious experience, and then you see the world a different way, and you don't have to rely on alcohol. And so that's what he said to Roland H. Roland H. went back and talked to Bill W. about it, and based on that advice, Bill W. and Roland H. created Alcoholics Anonymous. And 30 years later, in 1960, or 61, right before Dr. Jung's death, Bill W. wrote a letter to Carl Jung and said, and this is how you influenced the beginning of Alcoholics Anonymous, and it's a very touching story. And there's a book called Carl Jung and Alcoholics Anonymous that you should all go read because it's very, very powerful. So let me go back and see if I can catch some of these others. But we'll take a group break, and who wants to talk about? Brendan wanted to talk some more about the lyrics. So Brendan, go for it while I look for things to respond to here. Okay, sorry.
I just wanted to say, Skip, that I love the connection between the seventh verse, I think it is, and the last verse. So I'm asking once again, who the hell am I? So that's the point of the whole song, who the hell am I? Do you want to die? Do you want to fly? Do you want to work? And I love it that in the very last verse, I just want to fly. I just want to give you all the voices till I die. And that's what you're doing, of course, with your group here. You're giving everybody, you're empowering everybody in this group
Right.
with some of the tools they need to discover their own personalities.
I hope so.
You're giving everybody who gets on board with this group, and this is why I joined this group. I want to empower people with whatever skills I have, and I want to learn more of those tools, more of those skills to help empower people to have the ability to fly, the ability to laugh more, the ability to celebrate themselves more. But I also love then the 8th verse where it says, the me that I remember and the people know. That verse, I just love the fact how, and so much of this in this group is about this, how non-dual it is. It doesn't criticize, it doesn't condemn myself. Yeah, maybe I have been deceiving myself. Maybe I have been lying, but I'm not embarrassed anymore. This is the map of my soul. Dear myself, as opposed to dear shadow earlier, you must never lose your temperature. Because you don't need to be either warm or cold. You don't need to be either of those people. It makes no difference.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just love the
We all have to be on-
non-judgmental.
We all have to be on the scale of every set of opposites.
I love the non-judgmental acceptance. Though I might sometimes be hypocritical or pretend to be evil, this is the barometer of my direction I want to keep. The me that I want to be. The me that people want me to be. The me that you love. The me that I create. The me that's smiling. The me that's sometimes in tears. I love it. Thank you.
So who in Korea is going to recommend Kim Nam-jun for the Academy Award for Literature? maybe it's a little early, but you know, yeah. Well, Bob Dylan had to work for 40 years, but anyway, let me answer a couple of these points. One is was called in the Swiss Army, and he ended up being a camp commandant in a POW compound that held German prisoners of war. And of course, he was a medical doctor, so he was also serving for the medical needs of those people. And so he, during that time, he did one mandala every day. And many of those mandalas appear in the Red Book, but here's one that he did a little bit later on, and this is one that was in the Red Book that he prepared himself. And what you're seeing here on the bottom there is his own German calligraphy. This actually appears in the Red Book, although this book that I'm looking at is C.G. Jung, A Biography in Books, is what I'm looking at. And so mandalas are very important to Jungian psychology because they're a way of gathering your psyche together and helping you understand things. So thank you, Phoebe, for asking that question. And Hunger Stormy, I do hope you can listen to this as an audio. That's the intention. And Silent Heart says, "Good morning, sir. It's 8:10 Tuesday morning in Hong Kong." And Hunger says, RM incorporated Korean idioms in persona. Yes, he definitely did. Korean, not Chinese. And thank you for that correction. I've worked in Korea, Japan, China, Vietnam, and Singapore since. My work in Vietnam was excellent. Thank you, Bill. and and so I sometimes have mixed things up. I actually went to language school for Chinese, for Mandarin, and I lived in Japan for 8 years. So I learned to speak Japanese somewhat at that time. That was a long while ago, and I made many trips to Korea. I've been to Korea 20 times before 1988, and and as I said, I have 3 grandchildren who are Korean American because their father was born in Korea, and he's my daughter's husband, and he is now a radiologist here in upstate New York. So reading on here. So Jerome says, intro to Persona, Boy with Love, featuring Halsey, Make It Right, Home, J'aimez-vous, and Dionysus are the names of the songs in the album. And BTS Army says hello from Morocco. And so... And then Yasmina, it's a year of the pig in Vietnamese nation. I guess it's the year of the pig in the Chinese zodiac world. I suppose that's true. Hunger says the pearl necklace, the flowers, and the forest, the dog, are referenced from Korean culture. And Matt Wu says 6, don't give what is holy to dogs or throw your pearls to pigs. Otherwise, they will trample them and then tear you to pieces. And I suppose that might be what happened to Dionysus. And Matt refers to Matthew 7:6 through 8 from the Bible. And we were discussing RM's lyrics, Divya asked. And BTS Army urged others to suggest others join us, and we now have 75 online here. Wow, that's right. And Divya says, "Oh my God, pardon."
I'm gonna put my tie on.
By custom, we don't show the other members of the group to maintain their anonymity.
They're all sitting there with their lawyers.
But anyway, if you have anything to say about these lyrics, you're welcome. And Divya says, "Oh my God, I would love to know how this conversation would go with your grandkids." Me too. I think with my Korean American grandkids it would go very interestingly because their mother is a psychologist, a child psychologist. But I'm not sure she knows about it yet. There's been no mention yet, so I'm going to have to do that tomorrow. I haven't had much time. But my other grandchildren go to a fundamentalist Christian school, and I would be very surprised if anybody in that family is even aware of BTS, but we'll see. So, is a love weirdo says, yes, they moved to Seoul at a young age, and Hunger Stormy says, yes, a lot slept on them in Korea because they came from a small, unheard of company. And so they had a tough time, and the fact that they've broken out now is quite impressive. And they're the nomination. Rachel has given us the nominations from Billboard. The Billboard Awards are going to be on May 1st, and they've been nominated for Best Duo or Group and Top Social Artist. And their emphasis has always been on mental health, to their great credit, because mental health is always a taboo in most societies. And BTS Army says, they ain't K-pop, I will call BTS global pop. Right, I agree. And Taibei says, what is jamais vu? It's never you, right? Jamais vu in French means never you. Or never seen. Okay, never seen.
Yeah, never seen.
Yeah, never seen. Okay. So, and why is it being brought into the Persona album? I haven't a clue, but because I'm only learning this on this chat, so because I haven't had time to even go back and look at the names of the other songs, which came out today. So I'll have to go back and review that, and then we'll do some more video on that later in the week.
How does it appear, Stu?
Pardon?
How does it appear? Can you tell me the context? Jamais vu, jamais. Does it appear once or twice?
Jamais vu once is the name of one of the songs, I believe, in the
Because
new album.
if it appears twice, then it refers to the famous French nursery rhyme, which asks the question, are you sleeping? Dormez-vous? Are you sleeping?
That's it, yes.
Dormez-vous, dormez-vous.
Don't
yeah.
you think there's a possibility? Or
don't know.
is that a stretch?
I think I think Brendan, you might have had a little too much wine.
Shut me off. Shut me off.
Matt Wu says, you're doing great. It's a lot to learn in a short time. It's a lot to learn. These guys have been busy. And Kim Namjoon is only 24 now. And Hunger Stormy says, and Bob Dylan received a lot of hate too. And, I agree with that. And actually, I wouldn't say I hated him, but I didn't really like him. Dylan. I mean, I thought he was.
The first album I bought
Was Dylan?
Dylan, yeah.
Okay.
The one with, well, what I really liked was Desolation Row, being a Capricorn.
Well,
Desolation Road, Persephone,
yeah.
Total Trip.
for me, I was getting swept up into the Vietnam War, and so I liked all the peace singing people like Peter, Paul, and Mary, and Pete Seeger, and those people. Yeah. And they didn't have this cacophonous voice like Dylan did.
Well,
But
Dylan's voice sucked, but
Yes.
his words were incredible.
right, his words were incredible, and they got him the Nobel Prize for Literature. So
He was, you could just say, well, he was a rapper or something. he wasn't focused on the music.
yeah, he was an early rapper. He definitely was an early
I
rapper.
like the paradigm that you have brought up in kind of offhand way. You just said, because I'm a Capricorn, and it made me think about the lyric about, am I a dog, am I a pig? Do you seriously, can you answer this question? Do you seriously think it makes a difference to your personality, what time of the year you're born, what month of the year? Do you think there's anything at all in signs of the zodiac?
Well,
Do you
let me
think-
ask you, do you think so?
I suspect there is, because I can find some truth in
Okay.
signs
Well,
of the zodiac.
let me, and with due apologies to Penelope here. One of the people I did an interview with is evolutionary astrologer, and Dr. Jung was very much into astrology.
I'm a rat.
I am too.
Okay, We've lost the feed. Okay, we're back. So I'm a dog ear person, and I can tell you that the descriptions of the dog ear are very much like me. So anyway, so the answer is yes. I think there's something to it, but in terms of the physical world, no. Okay, in the we have constellations and stars and that sort of thing, and obviously they have no direct influence on us, no cause and effect in the rational sense. But in the opposite of rational, in the irrational sense, because human beings have been talking about these things for thousands of years, they are true. Okay, and
in fact,
somehow,
and there is some physicality that comes to bear through gravity, through moon phases, through tides, through winds. There are things that affect us.
Hunger Stormy says, "Jamais vu" is the opposite of deja vu.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And so then we say, I'm just astounded at the level of maturity and thoughtfulness in the lyrics that they write at their young age and their tenacity at sharing that with the Army. And I agree 100%. And also, Kim Nam-jun is to be certainly applauded for his speech to the UN. That was one of the most phenomenal talks I've ever heard. And for such a young man to say those things, wow.
You have to listen to it a couple times. You pick up something else.
Yeah.
Every time.
And
So genuine.
so Taibei says, experiencing something for the first time, but knowing you've had this experience before, I think that might be deja vu. And certainly I've had instances of deja vu myself. Carly Smith says, as an older Army, I'm 38, my pride in BTS stems from their work to empower the youth to participate, but not from a place of social media buzzwords, from a place of self-love, self-understanding. And I agree with you entirely on that, Carly. That's a terrific comment you made. And she went on, building empathy from the space and making a difference for others that makes a difference for themselves as well. So, yes, I agree with that too. And Taibei says, my mind is being blown by BTS. I'm a mess. Well, the best thing to do in that case is to go out and meditate and give your mind a chance to settle down. And Hunger Stormy says she's an older Stormy too. And Trepe Around says, thank you for this conversation. I love hearing your interpretations. Thank you. And thank all of you. And a lot of people are claiming to be older folks, and I guess I'm the oldest, I think.
Are you? How old are you?
72. Oh, okay. So Nancy's got me by a little bit.
I got you.
But you're impressed nonetheless, right?
What?
With the BTS thing.
Oh my God. Oh yeah, they're blowing me away.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
fantastic.
Me too.
They're blowing me away. Just so many.
So Penelope now tells us Dionysus was an ancient Greek god of wine, winemaking, grape cultivation, fertility, ritual madness, theater, and religious ecstasy. Thank you, Penelope. That's great. And I'm into that too, religious ecstasy. And fertility, by the way, yeah.
We talk about second comings.
What about Second Comings?
I mean, we are both blown away.
By W.B. Yeats, Second Coming?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by BTS. I mean, do you think every now and then people come into the forefront who have profound truths?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beyond the scene. That's what's really cool about the BTS. Stands for Beyond the Scene.
Yeah.
That was one major.
Yeah, and William Blake. I mean, William Blake is one of the amazing ones, and his poem Jerusalem is now become one of the most popular hymns ever in the UK. And they sing it in
We do. We have done for years.
yeah, in the movie Chariots of Fire. They sing it at the beginning and the end. And
No.
so William Blake was one of those because William Blake did 22 plates on the Book of Job. I gave you all a copy of
Yes.
this book,
Yes.
Encounter with the Self, and I've read the book on the YouTube channel. You can find it under Edinger's Portable Analytic Hour. And so it's about an hour and 15 minutes of listening. It's really worth your time. But William Blake lived, he died in about 1824.
They discovered wine.
Yeah. Apologies for the continuing getting knocked off here.
They used to drink the wine to make the party last longer.
But so what Penelope said to us here was that Bacchus may have been worshipped as early as 11 here. But I think you may still be able to hear me. I hope. I think you still may be able to hear even when we get knocked offline. Jerome says Bang Si-hyuk, who founded Big Hit Entertainment, played a major role in coaching and pushing BTS group to believe in themselves and go beyond their limits. His name is Bang Si-hyuk, and he's the producer of Big Hit Records, which is the producer of this album.
All the boys, all these lads together.
I think they pulled themselves together and then he pushed them on up because he was the producer, if I understand it. Also read there was a biblical reference to the snake of Ty's bracelet. Not sure how accurate this is, but who knows? That's Hunger Stormy. I'm sure that that's true because there's lots of snakes in the Bible, and there's lots of snakes in Jungian psychology, because you will see the Ouroboros as the means of communication from the aliens, among other things. It's a very Jungian movie. It's called Arrival. It's a couple of years old now, but it was an amazing movie. So Phoebe says Dionysus was the very embodiment of desire. Yep, I suppose. If we don't have desire, I guess we don't have much, right?
We have ice.
We have what?
Ice.
Ice, oh yeah.
Fire.
We might die by fire, but ice is nice and will suffice. If anyone has seen the track list, what are the numbers at the end of the song titles for? Good question. He was. He was said to be very beautiful, Dionysus. And hello, Jori. Sean says the Misogi ritual is a pretty cool Japanese tradition where they cleanse themselves within the waterfalls. Yes, it's also quite cold. I can say that. And Melissa says it shows how long the song is. Taibei, oh, I was thinking they were references to chapters or scripts. The fact that these highly educated people are having an intellectual discussion about BTS, yeah, excuse us, we're having fun with this because this is really awesome, and for me, this is an opportunity to educate the world about psychology. And the truth is, I tried to get Jung into American universities, and I've talked about this in a couple of other videos, but the Freudian psychologists have stopped it. And the result is that we have psychologists don't really do analysis anymore. In the actually, Bill would know more about this, but how do psychologists work in that are non-Jungians in today's medical environment? Would you like to speak about that? No, I just thought you might know.
Non-disclosure.
Okay, non-disclosure. Okay, so
I don't. There's so many different ones, and they've got so many different. I mean, you could have. What's Alice? What's her name? She works with children. You got somebody else over here with working Jungian, Adlerian. Some of them are working with Bettelheim of all people, who should probably not even be looked at. And there's so many different things they use, but the one who's most comprehensive and the one who's most ignored by academia, of course, is Jung. But in
Right.
academia, they like to reduce everything to cognition, I believe.
right. Well, that's all reduction, and that's all Freud, which is all rationality, and rationality doesn't get you to happiness.
Adler didn't even believe there were deep structures.
Adler didn't believe there were deep structures. Oh my God. Okay.
Or if he did, he didn't
Okay.
think there was
So now in the American healthcare industry, the psychologists want to have you in for 10 minutes, or no, not psychologists, psychiatrists want to have you in for 10 minutes and give you a pill. What?
But one of the new trends now is psychedelic therapy.
Okay,
They're
so
doing it at University of Maryland.
so now they're going to LSD and so
They're
on.
doing it all around. They're trying to make it legal so they can do it. They're doing all these big tests, these big experiments, but they're not really doing it, I don't think, one-on-one. Actually, I've tried to get someone I know into that program.
Huh.
And it's, they're using mescaline and psilocybin, and there's some people using LSD.
Wow.
Okay, well, more power to them. We aren't
The thing
recommending.
is it's sort of like it's sort of like a shunt, a quick way in, so that you can bypass all the talk therapy, and you work with the person individually. You're with them the whole time. It's not unlike the '60s where people did that. We took care of each other,
Right.
and so it's very promising.
So I keep getting knocked off. We had over 100 at one point here on this. Okay, apologies that this got knocked off. Generally, Jungian psychology would not recommend drugs. Jungian psychology wants to get down to the depths of you and understand what your issues are and help you to live a full life based on who you are, where you are, and what you are.
There's a lot of Jungians, and they're not all stamped with 1930s, 40s, and 50s.
Okay, Katie makes the comment that Dionysus is also known for being on and representing the border of like God, human, man, woman, addiction, ecstasy. Someone was theorizing it could relate to some way to the anima and us. Okay, but
His mother was mortal, wasn't she?
Dionysus' mother? Yeah, sounds right. And Hunger says, this and the classical musicians have great reactions to BTS. Hi, Key Army, thank you for your super chat. That's appreciated. Katie says, Dionysus is also a god of theater. Yep. Persona may come from the Greek word prosopon, the mask. Okay, I think we read that. Okay, we read that. Okay, so Jury says, I'm not sure you already talked about it, but I wish to know more about the microcosm of Jungian theory. And first of all, Jung never summed up his theory, number one. Number two, On this YouTube channel, you can find now 900 videos on with this group, and which I've prepared, which are all trying to teach people about Jungian psychology. And so if you go to the playlist JRG1, JRG2, and JRG3, that'll be the first, second, and third years of this group. And we've been working through it step by step. So if you want to start at the beginning and try to understand Jungian psychology, you're 3 years behind us, but you may be able to catch up. It's only about 900 hours of video.
It's a summer school project. Summer school project.
Summer school project, yeah.
Or use a psychedelic to get there. Get you there on
Take
time.
take some LSD and then listen to one of Skip's videos. That'd be good. Meg says Dionysus was often called names and misunderstood, even wrongly hated, which is what has happened to BTS when they were new. And you can be sure, Meg, that that's what's going to happen to me for drinking wine and laughing on this video. Firebugs says, "Is Dionysus feminine?" Bill, was Dionysus androgynous? I don't think so. Hunger says microcosm references Bela Bartok's pieces as well. I'm very intrigued how this also related to Jung. I'm not familiar with Bela Bartok's work, so I can't comment on that. Microcosmos, sorry for the misspelling. Carly says BTS has definitely played to the idea of wearing different masks in their life, both as a necessity for survival in a unique situation and to explore their unique selves in a public space. And I have no doubt about that. Hello, strawberries, and thank you for all the heart ice. Singularity had masks and a lot of Greek references, yes. And there's a lot of Greek references in Dr. Jung's work because Dr. Jung read and wrote Greek. And so I've got strength, says yes, to give voices to encourage people to speak yourself. And I've got strength. I appreciated your comment earlier. I made the video you commented on private, and I am going to edit it to reflect your comment. So it was a very useful comment, and I'm not going to explain what I mean by that, but thank you very much for your comment. And if any healthcare professional or mental health professionals are following this video, I am not a mental health professional. No one in this room is a mental health professional. If you think you need a mental health professional, please go and see one. And if any of you are mental health professionals and you hear us say something crazy, please put it in the comment so that we can make adjustments on the videos that are on this channel. I appreciate that. Moon River says BTS Take in Life was actually tackled through their docu-series entitled Burn the Stage in some of their shows. And they've been doing a narrative through their albums, apparently, and I haven't had a chance yet to go back and look. Apparently there's one 13-minute video that has the narrative of the story that they're trying to tell in their various albums, and it's a very interesting idea. Katie says, as well as the grapes plus strawberries in the concept photos alluding to Dionysus, it could refer to this line of Paracelsus quoted in the beginning of The Art of Loving, a book recommended on the something. Carly, listening to Namjoon's solo mixtape Mono will offer some very insight into his personal perspective on these topics. And $5 says, "Wow, award for literature." Yeah, I think you're working on it. You got another 40 years to go, but
Foundations of Western.
pardon?
They're looking at the foundations of Western
Culture.
culture.
Hmm.
Life.
Yeah, that's great.
Very much so, and that's the impressive thing. And BTS says, "Yes, sir. I used to be awarded for writing poems, and so, I have a thick book of Bob Dylan's of his lyrics." Now, after he got the Nobel Prize, I have to admit, I never liked listening to Dylan very much, but I did get, years ago, I got the best of Dylan, and I did like those songs. And, pardon? What? Nothing.
It's interesting to me how BTS is very much a postmodern group.
It
They
is.
are drawing influences from our culture, from
Right.
Chinese culture, from anything that they can, that they're trying to gauge the temperature of the age, which is interesting. Although in China, when you look at some of the high art movements in classical China, they are postmodern. They've gotten beyond that, and they're more into a nationalist kind of mood. I'm just intrigued by it because this is still very popular, isn't
Right.
it?
Oh,
This is still
absolutely.
touching a nerve. Postmodernism.
Yeah, 80 million followers of this group, so this is non-trivial. BTS online store, anyone who imagines that all fruits ripen at the same time as the strawberries knows nothing about grapes, not sure how it could tie in, but, and CMTR Bush, he was studying literature and was going to be a writer, if I remember correctly. Well, I think he is a writer. Okay, it's not a question of was going to be. Steffi says a little early, but there is talk at least with one literary scholar, Taipei, for RM to be put on the same pedestal as Bob Dylan, an amazing musician and intellectual. I am so proud. Yes, absolutely. I have to look for the
There's any
article.
significance, though. Maybe
All of
there's
us are going to recommend him, definitely. And for the Nobel Prize, you need to get some professors of literature to recommend Kim Nam Jung. That's the type of people that the Nobel Committee listens to.
We're thinking that we were discussing the arrangement of strawberries and grapes together, and we're thinking that maybe there is no significance. Or is it a seasonal significance? I mean, the fact is that they do not ripen at the same time.
Right.
Is it saying something about the time of the year, or what is it?
I don't know. I haven't gotten my copy of the album.
Well, grapes would be wine, and strawberries would be dessert.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something, again, Korean culture. Maybe strawberries are significant or something.
Maybe they're
In
fertile,
Korean culture.
just because they're just peppered with those little seeds on them.
So Moon River says, I've heard about it on the podcast of Dr. Stein and Laura London. So I urge you to go and take a look at that. It's on Twitter. It's Jungian Laura, and Murray
Stein.
Murray H. I think Stein 2 is his Twitter handle, and you can find lots about them. And I've been talking about it for the last week. So, and Phoebe says, yes, I highly recommend that everyone at least colors mandalas on a regular basis. They're so transformational and underrated.
Murray
Guy
Stein.
says, Australian Army here. Thank you for taking the time to dive into the Persona album and break it down for us. I'm not sure how much we really broke it down, but
You got a picture?
there was.
Yeah, there's pictures too.
Are there any?
Pictures are too tiny for me to see.
Are there any more comments among the group here at the table about the lyrics here? Did you pick up anything?
Oh, the
I'm,
these.
I'll be honest with you, so I'm going to keep it low. I'm not stunned yet.
You're not stoned yet?
Stunned.
Oh, you're not stunned
He's
yet.
not stoned yet.
Okay.
I can confirm that.
But did you watch the music video?
No. Like
Okay.
I said, I've told them I have to see it in the music. because
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah, you haven't seen the music video yet. Bill is an artist, and he's an art professor, and so he's a little jaded, and also he hasn't seen any of the music videos yet. So, good grief, we're going to have to revisit this next month and see what's happened. So Trepe says, the amount of information you have digested and processed about BTS work is impressive. Thank you. Thank you. BTS Army. Sir, I want to recommend you a video which relates to BTS's work to spiritual things. It's a channel called Bystorm 2.0. If you want, of course. Okay, I'll do my best to take a look at that. And meanwhile, I'm getting a notification across my screen from Paul Vanderklay, and he's talking about somebody in the Calvinist tradition. I'll bet that'll be cheery.
Does this mean we have to dress in black?
Just stop smiling. Just stop smiling.
Hey, they're having fun over there.
God help us. Hunger says, I actually like the translated title of Boy with Love equals a poem for small things, and what kind of pop song goes like that? Seriously. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing the music video, definitely. And hello from Central America, hello from the Philippines. So we've got people from Hong Kong, Wales, Central America, Philippines, Morocco, all over the world on this live chat. Currently, there are 92 active.
So let's talk Jung.
Say again?
So let's talk Jung.
Well, we're not talking Jung tonight. We're talking about Jung as he relates to these BTS boys, because the reason I'm excited about it, especially, is I was racking my brain about how we could teach young people about psychology, and this is how. And hello to Norway and Mexico, my goodness. And so on Friday, when this album drops, there are 80 million fans that are going to be sucking this up, and they're going to be they're all going to hear of Jung, and even if 1,000th of 1% of them get interested and actually do something with it, it's going to change the world. It really is. Everybody around the table is shaking their head yes. And Katie says the Korean title is a poem for small things. Reminds me of their.
I'd like to know how.
Well, I can read two of the three characters there. The small something flower, small but certain happiness videos. It's 2 a.m. in Morocco, also here in Morocco, but the atmosphere is luring me. I can't go. Thank you for staying with me. Of course, I do know that Arabs like to do a lot of things at night. I can't tell you how many business meetings I've been in at 12 and 1 in the morning. And Janet says, I am so happy that you've joined such serious speak-outs from Florida, California. And Moon River says their debut song is about their school system. And BTS Army, if you have Twitter or IG, share this, let the family grow big and strong. Claire Freer, oh my God, Grammys should see this live, and they will understand why BTS deserves an award. Yep, I agree with that. I mean, here's music and video that is going to cut through every generation. As soon as people understand what it is they're looking at, it's just going to be phenomenal. And Senator Bush says, "View is seen, boys. Is you and I remember my college French." Okay, view is seen. Okay. And Hunger says, "We are learning a lot." Jerome, microcosmos may refer to Bela Bartok's famous piano composition books, which is an invaluable resource for analyzing and understanding compositional style. And BTS, yes, jamais vu is an expression in French and means never seen. It's the opposite of déjà vu. Okay. And I've got strength says, "This live stream is so funny. I enjoy it very much. I'm glad you're here, and thank you for your comments earlier again." And we need to hear from the ladies at the table. Yeah. So what do you think?
Like in their face.
Desiree, has your son heard of this group?
I'm gonna have to ask him.
Yeah.
And he likes a lot of anime and things like that, so he may have a window in that I haven't had until you introduced him.
Interesting. Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. Nancy. how
So
about-
my granddaughter who's 14, I asked her, and she did know, and I figured she would know because she's also into the anime from Japan, which is Naruto, which is all based on, wouldn't be out of her realm, and she like absolutely
Right.
was in it, and this is will go
So,
national.
Superhero.
Yeah.
The
So
superhero
it's
phenomenon,
9:35
which
here.
has got the world going now.
This is, yeah.
9:35 here. I just want to warn you all that they shut off the lights here at 10, and we usually have to wrap up in about 20 minutes from now. So I will get through as much of the chat as I can with my friends here, and then I'll try to look at the rest of the chat. One of our followers has agreed to send me the print, and so Trevi says, "Such a complex message sent in a catchy tune." A lot of catchy video too, I must say.
The visual, there's a relationship I read that there's some of the video is purposely done to bring in some Jungian
She's
images.
taking cheese.
Definitely.
If you
yeah.
really look deeper into why, what they're doing with the images,
Right.
it's all purposeful. It's not just flashing lights. It has a purpose. Everything has a purpose in what they're doing.
In other words, it's very
Connecting.
manipulative.
Yeah,
Pardon?
the
very
manipulative. That's one way of
Thank you, Bill, for that
yeah.
dose of
Well,
cold water. Katie says microcosmos could also mean how it's used in Korea or the equivalent microcosm, something which functions like a small universe within the universe. Yeah, I agree. High Key Army says, according to some of the translators, the dog or pig reference refers to a scandal by a Korean politician who referred to common people as just dogs and pigs. Okay, that's interesting. It's an interesting reference, obviously.
was
And-
Army an acronym for anything?
Pardon?
When you were speaking to the interview with the people in the Army, was it an acronym for something?
Yeah.
ARMY?
Army is the fan base of BTS. They
Right.
call themselves armies.
Right, but I didn't know if it meant that, like each word stood for
Oh,
something.
each letter.
stood for a word.
I don't know. Does ARMY, is that an acronym for something else? I'd love to know that. And it's a very good question that Nancy brought up. And I don't know. It could be. And I actually have seen it spelled out with periods
Right.
A period, R period, M period, Y period. So if anybody knows, Army plus adorably representative MC for youth. Okay, I don't think we quite have it yet,
Right.
but maybe we will get it. Adorable representatives of MC for youth. Okay. I don't know what MC is. Army Adorable Representative MC for Youth. Okay. So great. I mean, the world is going to change thanks to you all.
You have something else to say?
Oh,
We
let's.
handle that before we leave.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Brendan has raised earlier an issue about a mystic story, and so I'm going to ask Brendan to tell me about it, and then we'll talk about it. Go ahead, Brendan.
So what happened? I was in Albuquerque last week, and I was on top of Sandia Mountain, and I met a young man who, like me, was a tourist just heading around New Mexico for the week, and he decided that he'd come and join me for a couple of days. So we spent an afternoon heading up on the railway line to Santa Fe. We caught the train to Santa Fe, and it was a very pleasant trip. We talked and talked a great deal. We got off the train about 6:30. Dusk was falling in Santa Fe, and for whatever reason, it was a complete ghost town. There was nobody else around. Nobody else. We were walking to the tourist part of the town. Nobody whatsoever. So my friend and I were walking along, and suddenly he was spun around by a force beyond him. I heard his shoes scrape on the ground, and I turned around and saw his whole body spun around to the right to look at two houses which were on the street. Two houses, and I said, "Have you had a déjà vu? What's going on?" He said, "No, I don't know. I don't know what's going on." And he looked at it, and he was really scared. He was really freaked out by this incident. And to this day, I don't know what was going on. What we did, what he felt would be an important thing to do, is he and I walked up to the town centre, to the city hall, and he felt he could ground the energy that he'd been hit with. He felt like he'd been hit by this. I saw that he'd been. It wasn't him who turned round. Something turned him around. The energy, and we held on. Or he grabbed the foundation of the city hall of Santa Fe, the big tower of the city hall, and then it completely, that was it. Balanced him. He felt good. He went on with his way, and we had a wonderful evening. There was one incident which I thought was related. He met this guy who was trying to crush his hand. This fellow who was very, I felt very deathly, very dark, he was a guy who had some kind of mental health issue, and I picked up on it, and I didn't want to engage the guy. He was a bully. I didn't want to. So that happened to this fellow, my friend, also too, but that may be unrelated. Anyway, codicil, epilogue to the whole story. When he returned from Santa Fe, in his
Back going again. The death card in the tarot. Let's just get it back because I don't want them to miss this. Okay, so the death card in the tarot doesn't mean physical death, first of all. It means change. And if you look at the death card, there's a naked man and a woman who are chained up by the devil. And the devil is there, and there's a reversed five-pointed star with the point. The top point is pointed downward like hell, but the man and the woman are chained, but the chains are so big that they could just pull their arms out and walk away.
It's not the same as finding the love card, is it?
Sounds like James Bond.
Okay, so correct, Hunger. I am a tarot reader, and so on the YouTube channel you will find 18 videos in which I've taught all of you to read the tarot and why to read the tarot, why it's useful, and so on. And so I'm not going to get into that in great detail here, except to say that the death card is an indication of change. It doesn't mean physical death normally to a tarot reader, and although it freaks a lot of people out, of course, and just related to your story about doing something. I was in my meditation group this noontime, and we have a Buddhist Rinpoche who leads my meditation group, and the teacher, the Lama. This has to come back. Hopefully, we still have 82 people on it apparently. Okay, so the teacher. Somebody kicked a dog on the periphery, and the teacher went, "Ow!" The dog screamed, and the teacher screamed, and so one of the people that was listening to the teaching said that he was a phony, that he was hypocritical, that he wasn't hurt; it was the dog that was hurt, and so at the end of the teaching. He let everybody go away, but he pointed to the man who called him a hypocrite. And he said, "I want you to come up here afterward." And so he came up, and the Lama opened his tunic, and there was this big bruise where he had been kicked. And so it's not clear whether he had the bruise before this happened or not. But anyway, it was a good story. But anyway, how can we otherwise respond to this? I mean, there are mysterious things that happen in life, and Jung was very good at talking about those things. And so there is the irrational in life, and a lot of Dr. Jung's work is about the irrational. And the point is that the rational can get you an iPhone that's 100% perfect, and it has to be 100%, and it can get you a car to drive you back and forth to Sammy. And so rationality does a lot of things, but there are also other parts of life. And if you live your life entirely laced up and tight in rationality, you're going to have not a very happy life. I mean, an example of that is our president, who sits with his iPhone at 4 a.m. writing nasty tweets because he's trying to keep everything laced up in his administration, which apparently is collapsing around his ears. But any other comments on the mysterious happening, Bill?
Geez. In a way, everything's mysterious, and we just sort of live in the illusion of our rationality and think we've got, we got these little boats on this huge ocean of irrationality,
Right.
and we're running around hoping the fish we snag isn't too big to sink the boat.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's why I thought it was interesting the other day that I learned something when I was preparing a live stream for this group. And so I was going to read the definitions of rational and irrational. And I've always thought of rational and irrational as being opposites. But the way Dr. Jung explained it, the rational isn't opposite, it's encircling. Okay. Or it's the center. The rational is the center, which things we've pulled into our culture. And that's part of about alchemy, which is a big discussion we could have sometime. And then everything irrational is about is around that. And oh, by the way, that's life, because everything in this room that we can see, the chairs, the people, the wine, all that stuff came from rationality, but it's not life until we put life into it, and that's entirely irrational. And when I started this group 3 years ago, I had no idea whether anyone would show up. And so I just started talking, and the very first example, the very first event, I was alone, and I just kept talking, and irrationally now there's still 73 people on here, even though they must be getting mightily bored by now.
He wasn't referring to chaos and order. It wasn't like order's in the center and chaos surrounds it.
Yeah.
That would be another way of looking at it? do you
Sure,
think?
because all of our lives, we're the center of our universe. Each one of us is the center of our universe. And actually, there's chaos all around us. And yet we go on living. And
Right.
my wife showed me a video of a murmuration of starlings, which scientists are trying to understand how these starlings, and they could have, I don't know, tens of thousands of them in a flock, and they're all flying around together, and they never hit each other, and they.
Attractors and
Pardon?
collision detection and attractors.
Right, and so anyway, these scientists.
You just write the program.
Right, so these scientists took high-speed video of it to try to figure out what's going on. And what's going on is that every bird is paying attention only to the 6 birds nearest to it. Okay, and so it's like the Blue Angels. I mean, in the U.S. Navy, we have these F-18s that go around and do flight demonstrations, and sometimes they fly within a foot and a half of each other. And the way they do it is they all pay attention to the other airplane. They don't pay attention to where they are, how high they are, or anything else. There's one airplane that's responsible for that, and everybody else has to stay close. And apparently that's what the starlings do, too. And sadly, one time with the Blue Angels, they flew directly into the ground up in Niagara Falls during a demonstration because the lead pilot made a mistake, and he flew down directly into the ground, and the other 3 pilots were watching him, and so they went right in with him. And but anyway, that's what the starlings do. So, but it's a mystery how. But when you look at it, when you see starlings in the sky, it's both mysterious and interesting, very interesting.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Okay, so let's see if I can get back to any of these. We have about 5 more minutes. Katie says, but maybe Namjoon, feeling like he doesn't deserve the pearls being thrown at him for being RM at BTS, a celebrity, as he's also just an average person trying to deal with what's been bestowed on him. And, that's definitely one of the points. And Dr. Stein mentioned this in his interview with Laura London, that the impressive thing about Kim Namjoon is that he's stayed grounded, okay, because it's so easy. If you become a rock star, it's so easy to get super inflated and just lose connection to who you really are. And what happens is many of those people end up on drugs and alcohol, and they die young.
I have to admit, I saw the thing where he said, "I am an icon," and I thought, well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
He was very direct. He knew,
Right.
he knew
He's
who
an
he
idol
was.
right now.
Yeah, I love it. I love the scene where it's showing the inflated
Right.
Kim Namjoon, the pink, where he picks.
Breaks it down. He
he
did a
breaks
great
it.
job.
He
with
did
it,
a great job of it. Absolutely.
Now, is a persona a shell?
Pardon?
Can a persona be a shell, like a protective shield?
It is a
Because I'm
shell.
thinking-
Sure, it's your. It's between your
Exactly what it
ego
is.
and the rest
Because
of the world.
the audience's projecting expectations onto him, and so that's
Right.
his shield.
And
And
so
so that's
he,
behind that. What are you? Because you're trying to keep this shield up.
yeah, that's his
You
point.
are not your personality.
Right.
Right.
And so Dr. Stein commented that it's important to keep that connection between who you really are, yourself, and who this persona is that you're projecting.
But the persona is sort of the filter too. It doesn't just,
That's
help.
just
It's the
you.
medium, yeah, it's the
Yeah,
language.
It's,
you
it's,
speak.
it's how you decide to interact, and it's gonna change, of course, with every interaction.
Interaction.
Right, because you have many different personas.
Yeah.
We're having one right here, right now.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah,
we all do, because, you know, every day when I've been trying to do teachings for this group at 9:30, I've been doing them at 10 o'clock, I'll try again tomorrow, but at 9:30, I'm very often unshaven, and I wouldn't want anybody to
There's a
see me
different
then.
persona,
That's
right.
not my persona. My persona is a starched collared shirt, you know, so at least until we get into summer and I start wearing polo shirts, but I wouldn't want anybody to see me without my persona on. It wouldn't be pretty. Right. Okay, so anything else that the four of you would like to wrap up on before we get thrown out of here, because we've got,
I think BTS is a prophetic voice. It's wonderful.
it's a prophetic voice, I agree with that. And,
Prophetic.
And-
Great.
I'll let you know
Uh-huh.
next time what I think, yeah.
okay, and so did you look at the calendar to decide on a date for next time? We
I
tried
think
for,
it's also on the first.
yeah.
I thought I said it was like, but it's.
We can
a
do it,
month ago.
we can do it on whatever date. I just,
The first Monday, right?
first Monday would be
Yeah.
the best, I guess.
Did you notice the ad that they did for Hyundai? The
No, I
ad
didn't see
That's
that.
really amazing.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Cool.
that's really, they're so genuine in this ad for Hyundai. No wonder Hyundai stock went up.
No, it'll be
Seriously.
the
You
sixth.
get the whole
6th of May.
so cool
Okay.
visual of that.
So we're going to be back at Sammy's Pizza Kitchen on the 6th of May. But in the meantime, I will be on my live stream trying to communicate with the BTS Army tomorrow at 10 o'clock as usual. And I may be on live stream off my iPhone because my iMac is currently kaput. But anyway, I'll be able to do it this way. Now I have the ability to follow the live stream or the chat, so that'll help. And so anyway, so other comments, points, May 6th, we'll make a note.
Well, send us out this stuff before next time.
Well, I mean, I just stopped this.
I know, but I'm just saying, we can help you better
Okay,
if we have a little more time.
yeah. Well, let's all watch this phenomenon that's going to occur in the next month. I mean, the album's going to drop on,
The seats are 1,800 to 2,000 to 2,200 at the stadiums. You want a good seat, you're paying these amazing prices. I went online and I.
oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Neil Young, maybe, but this.
At what stadium is that?
Well, they're gonna be in there, they're gonna be in Philadelphia, they're going to Chicago, they're going out to LA. 4 different stadiums.
4 different
The
stadiums.
one in New Jersey is called, look, I saw a soccer game there. In Rutherford, New Jersey, I forgot.
I don't
But
go to
anyway,
crowds, I avoid crowds.
yeah, but they're selling out at these.
Well, they're
Amazing.
going
And
to
they're-
have the power. Now they have the power to do a lot of good in the world. And my reading of the UN speech is that they know it.
They
And-
said the same thing about Jesus, didn't
Yeah, they.
Yeah, well, that's right.
And John Lennon.
they?
Yeah. And so we have to, yeah.
Let's see, don't you?
We aren't going to mention what those references mean right now.
You weren't born when the Beatles came out, So, I mean.
I lived in Liverpool for 20 years, yeah.
Sweet. I
So
mean,
did you
they
see
were-
the Beatles in a pub, did you?
No.
He was
You're
under
right.
the bar playing with these
I
little.
was 10 years behind the times.
Right,
Exactly,
okay.
Yeah.
I knew Jerry Marsden's mum. She was one of my students. Jerry and the Pacemakers.
Right. So 10 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow. I'll try to look through the other
That's right.
the other chats, and I'll be receptive to chats tomorrow. So Friday is the drop of the album. They've been nominated for the Billboard Awards. So the Billboard Awards ceremony is May 1st, and so we'll see how we all react to it a month from now.
Saturday Night Live, is that it?
Pardon?
Did you say
I think on Saturday they might be on Saturday Night Live. Yeah.
So a couple of things that,
Right.
in terms of discussion of them, where people are putting out like bad vibes, like you're a bad person, or this is a bad group, or they're doing things that are not appropriate. Because people have to say bad things about people, right?
Mhm.
They can't just say,
Control
oh, you're
some.
Right, right,
yeah.
right.
And so there were a couple of times where the big hit guy, the leader, big hit, what do we call
Mr.
him?
Bang, yeah.
Mr. Bang, you know, like, hey, if you think this is something wrong, we're gonna totally apologize. You know, and just cut it like that. We're apologizing, that's not what it was meant for, you know, like that. I think that's very classy.
Right,
I think it's classy, and then
Right.
we just move on from that. you
right.
know.
And so
Yeah.
I have at least one follower here that questioned something I did in one of my videos, and that person was correct.
Okay.
And so I put that video on private so that I
Yeah.
can
Uh-huh.
edit it.
Right.
But always remember, act first and apologize later, because if you don't, pretty soon you need to get London's permission to
Right.
change your nappies.
Yeah.
He disagreed with me.
That's what I had.
What did you say?
Oh, she just asked what it was that you did, and I said it was where you had disagreed with me.
No, I'll tell you after the video is off. But the Army just said to all of you that if you have any questions about BTS Army or BTS, just ask the question with BTS on Twitter, and you'll get lots of answers.
I want to volunteer.
Yeah,
I volunteered with the Samaritans and Baltimore Mental Health System. I want to volunteer with the Army.
good for you. So are you on Twitter yet?
Yeah.
And are you on Twitter?
Well, sort of.
Are you on
I
Twitter?
don't care that much.
No?
I should be
Are you?
on that account,
Let's see what. Paul
Okay,
says.
well, the Army communicates on Twitter, so be there or be square.
Maybe I'll
And,
check it out.
and even the President of the United States uses Twitter.
Oh, really?
And,
Well, I gotta join them. Gotta go.
and I've been on Twitter for a decade now, and I think it's the pulse of the collective unconscious, actually. And so I think it's very valuable.
I'm not sure that's
Tool.
conscious in the way you intended it to me.
Yeah, maybe not. Anyway, thank you for being with us tonight. I have to terminate this session. We still have 75 people aboard, and we have had 96 likes.
telling everyone.
And so thank you all for coming tonight. And I will come back online around 10 tomorrow morning, and I'll do my best to follow up with Brendan and with AHC. And, they're going to turn the lights off on us, so I have to wrap this up. But thank you very much for being here. And I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow or next week. I'm always on Monday nights at 8 p.m. And we will be back here on May the 6th. So this has been quite a good session tonight. About the most